Rick Perry's run for the presidency this year does not totally seem like it is ready for prime time. That said, maybe it doesn't need to be. I mean, the expectations for Rick Perry right now are pretty low. He washed out quite spectacularly when he ran a very big, high-profile campaign in 2012. His manner on the stump, I think more so now after a lot of coaching than even it was in 2012. His manner on the stump can at times be cringeworthy. I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean it as a point of political analysis. Governor Perry really is trying to establish his foreign policy bona fides in home videos that look like fake TV interviews and in speeches that double as pizza parties for students. Rick Perry is not getting all that much serious attention, I think because nobody is really taking him too seriously this year as a contender. Rick Perry's campaign team, the good folks at RickPAC and all the rest of them, I think in part because nobody's really taking him that seriously and he's not getting a ton of attention yet. The folks in Rick Perry's political world so far have been pretty successful at getting the national press to ignore this honestly, truly historic thing about his candidacy, which is the fact that he is apparently going to mount a run for the presidency while he is under indictment on multiple criminal corruption charges back home in Texas. So far, at least, the Rick Perry folks have been able to pass off the fact that he's under indictment as a non-story, some little parochial Texas issue that has nothing to do with him running for president. Just some, hometown enemies pursuing small-time scores. No big story. And that's fine for now, right? That will probably hold as long as his campaign consists of the kinds of hokey, small-scale, not ready for prime time stuff that he's been able to put together thus far. But that can't last for the long run, right? I mean, once he has formally declared as a candidate in the race, everything will be scrutinized. And so presumably that has got to factor into the Rick Perry camp's decision about when he formally declares that he is running for president. I'm sure they would love to have the whole criminal indictment thing taken care of before they take that leap. Otherwise, that's by necessity going to have to be the story of him running. That may be why we've heard no hints from the Rick Perry partisans of this world about when he might formally make his announcement and properly get into the race. Same deal to a different degree with Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. Scott Walker himself is not under indictment, but this is his former deputy chief of staff who reported to prison in Wisconsin last week to start serving a 6-month sentence for felony misconduct while in office. Unlike Rick Perry, Governor Scott Walker has never himself been indicted, but there are multiple criminal investigations, some open, some closed now, into his time as a public official. These public investigations about his time in Wisconsin that honestly follow him around like aluminum cans chained to his bumper. One Scott Walker administration investigation back home in Wisconsin resulted in prison terms for these fine gentlemen. One of them was Scott Walker's deputy chief of staff when he was Milwaukee County executive. The other is a man who Scott Walker appointed as a county official in charge of Veterans Affairs. These two guys were convicted of stealing more than $60,000 from local veterans organizations under Scott Walker's watchful eye, and they went to prison for it. That same criminal probe resulted also in 4 other Scott Walker staffers and supporters being convicted on multiple felony charges, including paid public employees spending their paid public time at work, instead working on political campaigns, which is what the other deputy chief of staff is going to prison for as of last week. One investigation, the one that has already resulted in prison terms for Scott Walker staffers and appointees and supporters. That one investigation relates to his first run for governor in 2010. When he was Milwaukee County executive, he was trying to move up to state governor. The second Wisconsin investigation back home, which remains an open investigation in Wisconsin, that one concerns Scott Walker's run to keep his job as governor in the face of the big recall effort against him in 2012. That ongoing investigation is about allegations of illegal coordination between Governor Scott Walker and supposedly independent outside groups that spent money to help him stay in office. And again, like Rick Perry and Rick Perry's little criminal indictment problem, it has been pretty easy so far for the Scott Walker folks to wave the national press off these Wisconsin stories, right? To convince national political reporters that it's just not worth it to get into the weeds on this state-based stuff. It's just hometown parochial partisan fighting, just a politician dealing with his usual hometown enemies. And that can fly for a while. This stuff can effectively stay off the national radar as long as the Scott Walker campaign for president or the Rick Perry campaign for president is still just a probability rather than something that is official and declared and underway. It will be much harder to talk the national press out of covering those stories once these guys are formally running for president, which has to affect their decision about when they are going to announce that they are formally running for president. These guys want as many stray hairs tucked away, right, before that bright light hits them in the national spotlight.